Well, I'm happy to be with you tonight. Actually, listening to that video, was really so many memories came, and I feel a bit sorry that I cannot probably bring back this whole atmosphere, this whole spirit there, because it was extraordinary. But let me share. I was asked by Robin to share for a few minutes about some of the events. I will not be able to share everything, so let me just share a PowerPoint. I prepared a few slides. I will focus on a few events. There were actually many different events. You've seen some of them on that video now. Some of the main events were the Sunak Peace Prize, the Inter-parliamentary Speakers Conference, the Asia Pacific Union Forum. There was an environment session on the future of the Earth, which was great as well, but I will not be able to report on it. There was also a whole afternoon on women and peace with the first ladies and women leaders present there. And then we had also this IAPP, the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace General Assembly. I will say a few words about it. And a World Interfaith Prayer Meeting. You've seen it. So I will just focus on a few of the highlights, the Sunak Peace Prize, and basically the Parliamentarian Speakers Conference and the IPP Assembly. I think David will complement with some other events, the Asia Pacific Union. And then if you had more questions afterwards, I will stay online anyway. You can ask and we can give more information. So the Sunhak Peace Prize was extraordinary event, as always. It was the 10th anniversary of the Sunhak Peace Prize. As you know, it's the biannual Sunhak Peace Prize that is given by our founder, Mrs. Moon. This is really for future generations, focused on future generations, peace for future generations, centering on three key areas: human development, conflict resolution, ecological conservation. And this year, the prize was focused on Africa, peace and prosperity in Africa. You can see the audience. It was a great hall at the Lotte World Hotel in Seoul. And you've seen them entering the hall in the video. It was, very grand ceremony. Let me just briefly introduce the three laureates. Patrick Aoua from Ghana. He was actually a Microsoft engineer. He's an African, he's from Ghana, but he studied in America. He worked in America at Microsoft and decided to create a university to develop Africa. He created the HSC University in Ghana, which is now one of the top 10 universities in sub-Saharan Africa. They have 50% of their students are women. Their focus is ethical leadership and technological knowledge and progress. It's an amazing achievement that they have done in a few years. Of course, with support from businesses and so on. So this is really, it was very inspiring to see the future of Africa through that, African education. The second, Wanjira Matai, she's called the champion of Africa's ecological restoration. She's actually carrying the legacy of her mother. The Green Belt movement is a movement that was created by her mother, Wangari Maathai, who was actually the first Nobel Peace Prize woman. I think she was the first woman Nobel Peace Prize in Africa several years ago. She died already, and Wanjira Maathai has taken over and expanded the work, restoring huge areas of land to fight against deforestation, planting trees, but more than that, also involving supporting women entrepreneurs, particularly in renewable energy sectors. She's very well known. She works with heads of state. She has a huge influence on the environment issues. And Hugh Evans, this Australian young man, was very moved when he was young by the extreme poverty when he visited some countries, and he dedicated his life to fight to eradicate extreme poverty. So he's developed a huge movement called Global, I mean, it's an organization, Global Citizen. He's raising funds worldwide through concert with many stars, many artists worldwide. He's raised billions of dollars over the years to fight poverty, to develop practical programs on health and education in poor countries and so on. Actually, their achievements is so remarkable. They are young, but I tell you, when these people spoke and when we saw the videos of their achievement, people were crying. There was really, I saw quite a few people crying in the assembly because it was very moving. And then together with the laureates of the Sunhak Peace Prize, you have the Founders Prize. Every time our founder gives also special Founders Prize to political leaders or religious leaders and who have achieved, some remarkable, something remarkable. And this time, this year was Goodluck Jonathan, who is a former president of Nigeria. He was given the prize for his strengthening democratic governance. And, I think he's the first, when he was a president, he lost the presidency to General Buhari in 2015. And usually there was always fighting when you pass on to the next presidency, but he's the one who, agreed and acknowledged his defeat and basically allowed democracy to continue in Nigeria. So he's very respected. He became actually a respected mediator in African politics today, and he's been working also with Universal Peace Federation. He's actually the head of the International Summit Council for Peace in Africa. And then the other one was Prophet Samuel Radebe, who is a major religious leader in South Africa. He has several million followers. He was given the prize for strengthening religious unity in Africa through this spirituality movement. He's very much focusing on African spirituality. And he's the one actually working also with Universal Peace Federation, with IAPD, we call the International Interreligious Association for Peace and Development. He signed last year with the African Union and IAPD a memorandum of understanding with the civil society organization of the African Union. So those were great achievers. You can see when you see the 5 laureates that this was really the prize this year. Who spoke as well, Macky Sall, who was a past laureate as a Founders Prize, the former president of Senegal. He actually he was very involved in the environment session. He gave a great speech. I will not be able to report on it, but he's very involved and gave a great speech in the environment session. Ban Ki-moon was there and spent time with other events as well. Reverend Munib Yunan, who is the former head of the World Lutheran Federation, and he's the Bishop Emeritus of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jordan, the Holy Land, and Sakina Yakubi, who is very well known as an educator of girls and women among refugees in Afghanistan. She gave education to millions of girls and refugees, girl refugees and women refugees in Afghanistan. Those were past laureates who attended the event, also spoke in various sessions. The Sunak Peace Prize also was promoted and in the media. Actually, the media reported, you can see here, CNN also interviewed Hugh Evans. And I think the Sunak Peace Prize is becoming quite a well-known event now. Every 2 years, we are giving this prize. Then the second event I want to report is the Inter-parliamentary Speakers Conference. It was also a very important event. You had 40 speakers of parliaments, presidents of parliaments from around the world who came. Most of them not most of them, maybe half of them, I think 18 actually were from Africa. Others were from Asia, from South America or Central America. And also we had a couple from Europe and the Middle East. This was an important event. This was actually, it's a new organization that was created. It's not created by UPF. It was founded. These are the founding members of this organization, but it was founded on the foundation of the work that UPF has done for years, centering on the Association of Parliamentarians for Peace. Many of them have known UPF for some time and become presidents of parliaments. And today, so they're creating this network of parliamentary leaders. It's like a parliamentary diplomatic platform for regional cooperation and dialogue around the world. That's something which is very much welcomed. And actually, it was very much welcomed by Ban Ki-moon, who gave a great speech there, welcoming them and supporting them. The mayor of Busan, also Busan City is, the second city in Korea. The mayor came there to congratulate and welcome the leaders of parliament. We had also important figures who supported the event. That was important because these people are very influential. You had Honorable Philemon Young, who is actually the current president of the United Nations General Assembly. He sent a video message. He was the former Prime Minister of Cameroon. And you have Honorable Martin Chungong, who is the Secretary General from the Inter-parliamentary Union. As you know, you may know, IPU is actually the oldest inter-parliamentary organization in the world, based in Geneva, over more than 100 years. And Martin Chungong is a very respected leader of this organization. He's also from Cameroon. Both of them very much supported the creation of the what we call ISC, Inter-parliamentary Speakers Conference. So every leader of parliament basically signed, all the 40 of them became founding members of this organization. So it was founded by their own signature. They signed, everyone signed, as a founding member and created this organization. You can see here the President of Parliament of Cambodia, Madame Sudari. We've worked with them a lot in Cambodia with the Universal Peace Charter. UPF has had quite some activity with them over the years. And she was one of those, of course. And then based on that, after having founded this organization, they chose by consensus the first chairman of the ISC, which is who is the president of the Senate of Pakistan, Honorable Gilani, who is also former Prime Minister of Pakistan. He's also very familiar with Universal Peace Federation. He attended quite a few of our events in the past, and he became the first chairman of this new inter-parliamentary organization. It's like an intergovernmental organization. It's not founded by UPF, but UPF basically, allowed the creation of this organization. And we had also there, among the participants, you had some presidents of regional parliaments. You had Mrs. Ibrahima, who is actually the head of the Parliament of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is the Economic Community of West African States. It's the biggest organization of nations in the West Africa. And she's the head of the parliament of this organization. And also Honorable Redondo, who is the president of FOPREL. FOPREL is the organization that is the forum of the leaders of parliaments of Central America and Caribbean. And I think there were at least 10 or 12 of them who came to this summit, to this ISC conference, guided by Mr. Redondo. We had, then the next day, there was on the 12th, at the National Assembly. They had first, of course, some meetings. Everyone was able to speak and share and so on. And then in the afternoon, there was the official launch at the National Assembly with the Vice Speaker of the Assembly of Korea attended and a few other members of parliament attending. And then they signed a declaration, a joint declaration on peace and prosperity, on cooperation, promoting peace efforts, shared prosperity, including development and so on, which are basically the main objectives of this organization, which will be based in Korea. The headquarters will be based in Korea. And this is a new project that we developed, and we are very much eager to support it, of course. Then after that, at the National Assembly on the 12th, again, there was also okay, you can see here when they signed the Seoul Declaration. Sorry, this is still the ISC. This is the declaration, the Seoul Declaration that they signed. All the speakers of parliament signed this declaration at the parliament to launch the assembly. You can see here Honorable Afrim Gashi, who is the Speaker of North Macedonia from the Balkan, and of course many others who were there. And after a break, we had the Parliamentary Assembly, the General Assembly of IAPP, which is the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace. I think you all know, maybe some of you from England remember, the IAPP was actually inaugurated in Europe at the British Parliament in 2016. We had a conference at the British Parliament. We inaugurated this association at the British Parliament in 2016. And that's based on that work we've done over the years that this new organization has been developing. There were also several speakers. I will not mention, all of them, but I just show a few photos. This lady was remarkable because she's actually a member of parliament, but she's also a presidential candidate. Actually, the parliamentarians, the speakers of parliament, were the highest level figures we had in the event. As you know, Korea went through struggle. The president of Korea was actually impeached. There was no president. This is one reason why we could not invite presidents of nations, because there was no president in Korea. So the highest leaders who came from our side were the speakers of parliament. And so, and of course, a few former heads of state who came as well. So this lady is a presidential candidate for the next upcoming election within the next month or so, I think. Honorable Dan Burton, who is a former US congressman. He's been in the Congress for quite many years, maybe 30 years at least. And he's also co-chair of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace. And then you had these two leaders who spoke in different events, but I don't know if you've seen reflections from Keith Best. Keith Best gave some reflection. Keith Best is the chairman of UK. I think many of you must know him. He's a chairman of UPF in UK. And he actually gave some reflection. And he said there were some speeches that moved him to tears. And he said the speeches that moved him to tears actually were with Newt Gingrich and Paula White. And he briefly explained, because Newt Gingrich, you heard him actually in the video, he spoke about the importance of freedom of religion as the most fundamental human right, saying this is one of these inalienable rights that the US Constitution, mentions, given by the Creator, by God. And so he said this is the most important to protect freedom of religion. And he was referring actually to the current situation in Japan, some of you may know, where there's a lot of problems with religious freedom at this time. Paula White, as you may know, is currently the director of the White House Office of Faith, which means she's working directly with President Trump. She's actually a spiritual advisor. She's also a church minister. She on her own, but she came here, of course, she spoke in her personal capacity, but of course she obviously represents the White House in her mission. And she also spoke very movingly. Keith Best said about human sacrifices in search for peace, and particularly she mentioned about the millions of people who died in Korea and how peace was built on a lot of sacrifice. So this was some of the major leaders. There were quite a few others who spoke at that time. And from Europe, we had two speakers who were selected to speak in that event. And that was the Speaker of Morocco. He's actually he's not a speaker, he's actually a member of Parliament of Morocco. That was the first time he came to our event. He was very moved and inspired also, and wants to work with UPF very much. The second one is Himanshu Gulati, who is actually a member of parliament from Norway. Gulati is a young member of parliament from Norway. He was so moved by the Sunak Peace Prize ceremony, by the diversity and the variety of the of the audience, of the people who came from all over the world, from all nations, that he wrote to us. He said, the night before, he changed his speech and he really testified to the founder, testified to the UPF founder for creating such an organization and such an event. And he was so moved. He said, as a Norwegian parliamentarian, I am able to give a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. And he said, next year, I want to nominate UPF for the Nobel Peace Prize. He was so moved by this experience, actually, in that summit. So he was our representative. And so this is the General Assembly, of course, gathered parliamentarians together. And of course, there were a few more people, but some people took the group photo there. Also, we signed a peace declaration, which basically summarizes UPF main vision and objectives at this time, like multilateral dialogue, cooperation, sustainable development goals, North and South Korean dialogue, etc., etc. You can recognize Keith Best, who was there as well, and as a chair of UPF in UK, and Mr. Ben Bey, the MP from Morocco. So this was actually the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, the General Assembly. And I will close with a few words on the last ceremony, which was actually, I would say, the high, in a sense, it was internally the high point of the whole summit and the whole time in Korea, because it was a project that had taken many years to develop, centering on this. This building was built over many years with a lot of effort. It's called the Cheonwongung, or Peace Palace, and inside there is a special interfaith sanctuary called the Cheonil Sanctum that our founder really wanted to dedicate to God and bring people from all over the world. And so that was actually the highlight, internal highlight of the whole event. I just have a very few photos of this. You can see there were tens of thousands of people who came from all over the world for that ceremony. Tens of thousands, and many people were outside. Many people were in the stadium nearby, could not enter, but the key VIPs, former heads of state, speakers of parliament, religious leaders, and a few others were able to enter into that, I would say, this holy of holy, if you will, this Cheonil Sanctum, which is the interfaith sanctuary. You have about 500 of them came. It's an extraordinary place. It's really extraordinary by its beauty, by its size. It's grand. It's really, so very tall building. It's very beautifully decorated and very richly decorated, but also especially you have a real sense of a deep spirituality when you enter there. And that ceremony was very extraordinary, actually. And it was a ceremony for as I said, many VIPs were there. Most of the participants were foreign VIPs, including speakers of parliament, heads of state, former heads of state, and so on. And of course, some of the UPF leadership as well. And it was actually a ceremony for our founder, Mrs. Moon. She really offered her whole life and her whole efforts since she took over from her husband. For last 10 years, 12 years, she dedicated to prepare to build that temple. And that was the achievement of offering this to heaven, offering this to God. And actually, she spoke with tears, and people could really feel her long suffering, her long dedication. The Speaker of Kosovo, the Speaker of Parliament of Kosovo, was very moved. He told me how he felt, her dedication and heart could really be expressed through this ceremony. But future was a very
Jacques, you froze for about a minute. Could you go back?
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Do you hear me now?
We can hear you well now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just said that was both a remarkable achievement for Mrs. Moon herself. Mrs. Moon herself, because it was an achievement of many years of dedication to build that sanctuary with a lot of internal financial effort and so on. But most important, in a sense, for her was the time to offer to God not only the temple, but also the future generations. She wanted, this was a ceremony of transmission to future generations. You can see even the Sunak Peace Prize was dedicated to the young leaders for the future of Africa, the future of the world. And internally, she wanted to transmit the leadership to her grandchildren. She had 14 children, in her life, 14 children. She gave birth to 14 children. What a life she led. And that was an opportunity for her to give, this transmission to her own grandchildren. So there was an extreme, in a sense, for our organization as well. Even afterwards, Mrs. Moon actually, which we call the religious name, I put her religious name, Holy Mother Han, is her religious name of dedication as a Mother Han. And she actually renewed the leadership in all organization, asking us to quickly, if we still, I'm still a president of UPF, but she said, we have to find some young people to take over. Please find young people to take responsibility for the future. So many of the older leaders were asked to leave the place already for new leaders, young leaders. And she asked us, if you're still around as an elder leader, please, in the next couple of years, you have to find someone to replace you for the future of peace, for the future of the world. And I will stop here, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you.